So the quick thing that we're going to do first thing this morning is show you how to have a .NET Core MVC web application that installs as a template and then update that template to use the latest version of Bootstrap. And so Visual Studio, let's create a new project, and we need to select the template that we have been, which is ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller. Decide where on your computer that is going to be saved. In our solution name, I'll just call this Bootstrap Demo, and I'll just call this Demo. So the solution name versus the project name, let's go ahead and spin that up. I'm going to take off the HTTPS because it's not needed for what we're doing. And what's worth mentioning off the bat is where are the Bootstrap files saved in this solution. So the first thing that I want to take note of is static files for our client are saved in www root. And so we have our CSS, we have our JavaScript, these are just boilerplate. But if you go into lib, short for library obviously, then we have like a Bootstrap, we got some jQuery stuff down here. And if we go into Bootstrap, then we have a dist folder. So the full path to our actual Bootstrap CSS is wroot lib bootstrap dist CSS. So you kind of have to know that path to take these steps, or at least it's helpful to know this path. And the next thing I want to point out is the default version of Bootstrap is version 5.1. If I go to getbootstrap.com, of course, it might be a newer version. If you go to the latest version of Bootstrap, you know, major version, minor version, and bug fixes. So 5.3 has some new features that 5.1 does not have. Okay, and so you might want to upgrade to 5.3. So how are we going to do that? Well, the next thing to kind of notice is that in the project, if you right-click the project, we have two things here. We have NuGet packages and we have client-side libraries. Well, there's a difference. I mean, these are basically packages for the back end, which are your NuGet packages, and packages and libraries for the front end. And so the mistake that was made by me earlier was that I wanted to do a package on the client side, a front end library, but instead I installed something under the back end libraries, which is NuGet. And so we're actually going to be managing client side libraries, which is not called NuGet Package Manager. It's something different called libman. So if I go to add, instead of managing my client side libraries, I'm going to go to add a client side library. And in here, I type Bootstrap. Now I will say that this auto-populated for me. I've had that not auto-populate for me. So in that event, just go ahead and close this window and reopen it if this search doesn't actually work. Okay, so just take note, I've had Visual Studio kind of buggy a little bit. You might need to close the window and reopen it. But in the event it pops up, notice it is Bootstrap 5.3.2. But notice the target location is close, but I'm actually going to put it in the dist folder because that's why we talked about the full path. Is I actually want all these files to go inside of dist and therefore overwrite the files that are currently there. Okay, so if I go ahead and install in the dist folder, it should, now if I open up my version of Bootstrap CSS now, you can see it's version 5.3.2. Okay, so that was a different version before. Yes, sir.
Could you show how to get back to the screen where you installed it?
Yeah, so to get there, we're going to right-click on our project. We're going to right-click on our project, not our solution, but right-click the project. We're going to go to Add Client-Side Library. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, the last thing to kind of notice is that there is a libman.json that is here that kind of says, hey, you know, we added this library very similar to a package.json in the Node world. It's just a JSON file with some settings about, hey, we installed Bootstrap 5.3.2. Now, so that is how you're going to upgrade, an older version to a newer version using the .NET framework. And I guess the last thing we could do is boot this up and actually look at it in the client. So right off the top, this is a Bootstrap navbar, so I could just tell by looking at this that this is implementing Bootstrap. But if I kind of go into my inspector here and I go into my head, we can see here kind of the path. Actually, I just click that link, and right there you could see it is Bootstrap version 5.3.2. So by inspecting the code in the browser, we can verify that it is using the latest version 5.3 to give us the latest Bootstrap features, 5.3 over 5.1. Yes, James?
In your CSS folder that's in the dist folder, in those CSS files, did yours change to 5.3?
So inside of libdist, yes, inside of libdist, inside of CSS, this now says 5.3.2.
So I got the libmin JSON at the bottom that says Bootstrap 5.3.2.
Yep.
But my
It didn't update.
CSS files are still at 5.1.
All right, let's look. And so what happened here with James was, I believe his file was currently open. The 5.1 file was open when he ran the installer for libman command. And so by closing the file and kind of refreshing, and so sometimes you just have to give it a minute and just reopening it, then that solved the problem. It was updated to 5.3.2. So that's that process.